There we go. It's 1 o'clock. It's Wednesday on Gamescom, and I am here with, well, my favorite developers, Obsidian.
Of course.
Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
I'm Brian Hines. I'm the game director of Tyranny.
I'm Nick Carver. I'm a systems designer at Eternity.
I'm gonna.
Tyranny.
Tyranny.
Tyranny. You guys have been, well, most of Tyranny, you are going to be stuck demoing the game for press and media. But right now, we are going to have a look at character creation, correct?
Correct, yes.
So I'm going to hand it off to you guys. You guys get to introduce it, and I'm going to make sure that all of the audio levels and stuff like that are okay, and keep track of stream chat. So let's get this show on the road, shall we?
Sounds good. All right, so go for it, Nick. So what we're seeing right now is the actual main menu of Tyranny. This is a piece that one of our artists, Bobby Hernandez, did the painting for this, and it looks amazing. We've got great parallaxing going on, like the banner waving in the background. It really helps set the tone of what the game is from the very beginning. So we're going to go ahead and create a new game. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Tyranny, just give the basic idea what the game is. It's a world where evil has won, and you begin the game as part of the conquering army. You are one of the evil characters who helped suppress the rest of the world, and here's our intro video to give you an idea of the game.
For over 400 years, the armies of Kairos the Overlord have swept across the known world. All who stood against them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will. Now Kairos' final conquest has come to our corner of the world, and two of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands. The elite disfavored, and the teeming horde of the Scarlet Chorus. The voices of Nerat, Spymaster and Archon of Secrets, guides the fierce and undisciplined masses of the Scarlet Chorus. With each battle, the Scarlet Chorus grows stronger, as the defeated are given a simple choice: serve or die. Graven Ash, Archon of War and the Overlord's most loyal general, leads the disfavored. Though small in number, Kairos' ironclad legion has never met true defeat in open battle. Watching over the two generals is Tunon, the Adjudicator, Archon of Justice, eldest of Kairos' minions. Tunon brings Kairos' laws to newly conquered lands, aided by the Fatebinders, judges and executioners of the Overlord's laws. You were among the youngest of the court of Fatebinders when Kairos' armies came to our lands. How could we have known that the fate of thousands would rest in your hands?
So there you go. That's the intro video. Kind of gives you a setup for the game.
Yeah. I'm gonna steal control for a bit here and get us into our smaller camera, because I'm sure people like that. There we go. And now we're back.
Excellent.
And in character creation.
So obviously the first part of character creation is deciding what your character is going to look like. So with Tyranny, we're focusing much more on a human world where we're not a traditional fantasy where there's like elves and dwarves. It's very much just humans fighting humans. So one of the ways we're giving you ability to create unique character is giving you access to different body types. You saw as Nick was clicking through that between the different genders, you can actually choose not just gender of the character, but also like, are you a more small and petite? Are you like big and burly and muscular, or like tall and skinny? So a couple different body types, and then you can choose different skin tones within that for how your character looks as a whole. So we'll go ahead and create a character, then move on. And then additional appearance customizations, you can choose what face your character is going to use, customize like the hairstyle and facial hair.
Well, I mean, for me personally, of course, the most important thing is the beard.
Of course. I mean, we're all fans of facial hair here, so I think beards are an important part of any character's.
So otherwise, I can't commit to the role.
Without the proper beard, do you have a beard you prefer?
What? No, not really. Like, I'm also, because of my beard and my hairstyle, I'm used to whenever I try and create myself in a game, it never works out. I kind of have to be like either get the guy who's got like proper beard or get the guy who has like short dreads. So I'm fine with at least there being one thing that's kind of like, okay,
nice.
yes, beard.
So yeah, we got also obviously we can choose hair color. Also on the screen you can pick different voice sets for your character. So we've got a drop down here where you can pick.
All right, let me boost the audio a bit for that.
Good work. Got it. I got it.
And then one of the things we're adding from for Tyranny that didn't exist in Pillars was the ability to add tattoos to your character. So we've got several different tattoo patterns for you to choose from that apply to any skin tone, and then you can then change what the actual primary and secondary color of the tattoos are. Just more customization options for characters to choose from. And then final step of creating your appearance is deciding what portrait your character is going to use. So we have a large number of both male and female portraits. This is the portrait style is something we've been working on over the course of Tyranny's development, trying to get something that's kind of unique to what our game is. I think we've hit on a style that's beautiful. Really helps convey the game, and like all of our portraits is all like tattered and wear and tear on the actual appearance of the characters. Like trying to sell the idea that this is like you're not a character who's like coming pristine into the world. You've been fighting through combat for years, so there's a lot of damage on your character starting the game. So traditional with RPGs, you can pick like what your background is, like how did you join Kairos' army to begin with, and this will feed into conversations in the game, as you'll have, based on how you pick your background, you'll have different conversation options available to you in certain situations. So choosing to be someone who's like a former slave or a pit fighter will feed into different conversations versus like, oh, you were a diplomat and trained in the laws of Kairos' land. So
is this something that you as a character are aware of, and it affects your dialogue choices, or do people in the world like kind of sense your backstory, or is it just the backstory that you create in game?
It usually affects like what choices you have as a character. That if you're talking with somebody and they're saying something and you have a background as a diplomat, you can say, now, hold on now, I was part of those negotiations. I know that's not the case. You can call them out on lies and things like that.
Cool.
Yeah, if you're a law breaker, you might be able to steal from a shop that you maybe couldn't otherwise interact with in that way. I'm gonna be a soldier.
So that's what I'm gonna do.
So this character creation is the first point where we start talking about like we're a skill-based game. So rather than choosing a class, what you're doing during character creation is starting to choose what skills you begin the game with. So we have several different combat styles. You can start off with like sword and shield, or having a throw and javelin and shield, and these different choices of how you want to specialize and customize your character, beyond just choosing like what your starting equipment is as far as like the actual armor and weapons. It's also, if you look at the right side of the screen, if you scroll down, Nick, you see that you start actually getting different skills that you begin the game with. So this is between these choices you're making and your attributes, and farther on we'll get to more skill selection. This defines your starting abilities as a character. So and then you can also just choose initial abilities based on your expertise. So we'll start with the guy's sword and shield. That's a good starting character to make. And then you get a second choice of skill. So we have both a primary and secondary expertise. One of the reasons we did this is because I think I've said on interviews in the past, like I love creating like hybrid characters. So here, if you really want to be the guy who is, okay, I'm one-handed weapons, that's really my focus, you can choose like to just double down on that and get extra skill in that area, become more effective. Or you can start combining and creating, getting experience in different magical schools as well, and start mixing and matching those different types of characters. So for this, we'll go ahead and do a frost spell character as well. So with this, you start getting with the first set of magical skills and abilities for your character. You not just have the one-handed weapons, but you also have Control Frost, which is the skill that determines how effective you are at casting frost spells. And you get a cool magical staff as well to go along with it. Sparkly, yes. So again, part of appearance customization, you can pick what your primary and secondary tint values on your armor are, just to get your character looking the way you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have, you can pick a banner for your character. Like, because you are a leader in an army to begin with, we wanted you to have your own symbol, your own heraldry that determines what people would rally to if you were on a battlefield. And this will affect, like, as you're traveling on a world map, your banner will be what actually displays to show your party's location. So this is something you'll see throughout the world, and if you conquer a place and claim ownership of it, your banner will start appearing in that location as well. So this is something you'll see fairly frequently throughout the world. So now that we've got our character's banner selected and appearance, let's go ahead and move on. So naming your character, always important.
Very important.
Buttercup.
I was so sure you were going to put a space after the first bit there, and I was like, oh, no, this... No,
I mean, the Dreadlord Buttercup. I mean,
it's if the name fits.
Oh.
Nope, not enough characters. The dreaded Buttercup.
Yeah.
Yes, that's an appropriate name for our character creation. Okay, so now that the dreaded Buttercup is ready to move forward, so we have 6 different attributes for our characters. People who have played Pillars are going to be familiar with this type of breakup. The goal is to create attributes that any character can find valuable, no matter what the build is. So there are no wasted attributes for your character. And we begin with a certain number of points that you can spend. You can also reduce an attribute lower if you want to get more points back, so that you have more stuff to actually purchase during character creation. And then, like on the left of the you'll see indicators whether an attribute is recommended for you. Depending on what primary and secondary weapon expertise you choose, will determine what attributes are actually recommended for your character to be most effective in combat.
So how, because I'm sometimes a stat nerd, how big's the difference then between, say, quickness 9 and quickness 12? What does it...
So when you mouse over, you'll see on the right-hand panel, it will show you the actual, what the effect of a skill is as you're raising and lowering it. So like with quickness 12, you're reducing your ability and spell cooldowns. So 12 gives you a 6% reduction in that. So if you go down to a 9, like we had initially, you're actually seeing you're getting an additional 3% ability. So it'll take you longer for your abilities and spells to become usable again. So none of our attributes are, like, an individual point is not punitive with any of our attributes. We don't want it to be at the point where, oh, you got a debuff and now you feel like your character's now absolutely useless and can't be viable in combat. So it is actually feasible for you during character creation to bring a stat down lower, below 10, and then use that point to give yourself a benefit elsewhere. It's one of those things that it is... some people I know never want any stat to be below 10. They just, whenever they see something, it's like, oh, it's not a 10, I have to increase it no matter what. We try to build down systems so that you can actually make that choice, and your character's not going to be dramatically harmed in any way by doing so.
Okay, good. Well, I say good, but I think I'm one of those people that are like, no, can I be this? Can I be this bad? No, I can't be this bad. I have to be good at everything. Just rough.
Yeah, it definitely is challenging. So after you've allocated your attributes, we go to our skill selection page. So as you're choosing your expertises for the primary and secondary, you're getting certain amounts of skill for your character. Here's where you actually have a certain number of points you can allocate across multiple different skills. So you could choose to try and dump them all into a single skill, which during this section you can bring any skill up to 50 ranks of skill at a maximum. It would mean you're very good in that one skill, and then everything else you kind of just have the basics that you would based on your attributes for the character. So since we are both combining one-handed weapons and frost, we'll kind of divide our ranks between those two skills to get those to decent numbers. Give us a chance to have good attack skills in game.
And skills also pull some of their starting values from the attributes that you've chosen. So things like if you want to be better at one-handed weapons, it helps to have a higher finesse to be more accurate with your strikes and gain more one-handed skill.
And you can see when you're mousing over any of the skills in the panel on the right, it shows you how the value is being calculated. So like athletics we're looking at right now, it shows you the base value is 15, which comes from your 10 finesse plus your 12 might. Plus you got 4 athletics from being a sword and shield expertise, and 2 from having a soldier background. So those people who want to min-max will want to pick the right backgrounds and attributes to give them the highest possible skill values.
Well, I part of me always wants to min-max, and then I get to a certain point where I'm like, no, this is too much math. I just stop. I'm like, oh, I'll just have a sword and shield.
Yeah, the one thing with we try to do with our character creation is to give you the ability to create the character concept that you really want for your character, but then not make you feel like you've gone so far down the road at the very beginning of the game that you can't experiment and try new things as you're playing the game. Like, one of the great things about our skill system is that as you're playing the game, if you, like, we chose it to be a one-handed weapons character. If we find, like, a really great bow in the game and decide, oh, you know what, this playing with a ranged character is actually a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be, and you want to decide to switch and focus on that, that is possible in the game. You can definitely just, by picking up the bow and using that moving forward, you can have a very different experience and change the concept of your character based on what you're enjoying about the game, rather than feeling like, oh, I chose one-handed weapon at the beginning, I'm stuck with this, I can't make anything else, do anything else throughout the game. We wanted you to have that freedom as you're adventuring through Tyranny to experiment and try new things.
Well, excellent. So now that we've gone through it, what's your just looking at the dreaded Buttercup? Are you pleased with your character? Is this going to work well?
I think that I'm going to be really good with one-handed weapons in melee. I'll probably be casting some frost spells to slow down my opponents. I'm thinking maybe I want to be a little sneakier so I can start off with a frost spell or something from stealth and then be able to move in with melee afterwards. But yeah, no, dreaded Buttercup looks like he can wreak some havoc.
Definitely. So one of the things that when you're going through character creation, you have the offensive side with like the one-handed weapons and the control frost. Then you also have some of your more support skills because, as we said, a lot of our skills contribute towards conversation options in the game. So, like athletics, lore, and subterfuge play a part in how your character can affect conversations with different NPCs. Like being really good in one-handed weapons makes, like, when you actually get into combat, you're more effective. But having high athletics, lore, and subterfuge can mean you can avoid combats altogether or weaken them in some way through different options. So
what you're saying is that there are less NPCs in the game that, when in conversation, are super impressed with your one-handed weapon skill compared to your lore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, of course, if they're not impressed in conversation and you attack them, they'll become impressed once you start actually wailing on them. So.
No one's like, oh, I see you have a sword. Very nice. Can you swing it around for me?
I mean, this is you're part of an evil army, so everyone kind of has a sword. Like, not really that impressive.
Okay, well, so I think that's most of what we can show from the character creation at the moment, right?
Correct, yes.
So, unfortunately, we're going to keep the rest slightly secret still. We'll reveal more at a later date, but this is what we're showing here today. So we can get out to the main menu again, and I'm gonna steal control for a short second here again, so we can get back into this and talk. I thought we'd talk a bit about, because Tyranny is it's one of those RPGs that is, because from the start you're basically evil. Like, even if you don't want. I mean, I tend to play the good guy, even in games where there are choice. Right. I'm always like, I'll be the good guy, thank you very much. I don't know how you feel about that dynamic between good and evil. Like, is it, what do you, if you have a choice in game, what do you do you also fall in the trap that you tend to be good?
Usually I do tend to be good because the options are more. There's more options for a good player. A lot of games treat evil as like, oh, you're the psychopath who just goes in and attacks everybody, and that just stops being interesting very quickly. So one of the challenges we had with Tyranny is, how do we give you enough variety of evil options that it feels like you actually have choice, and that they're interesting choices that aren't just killing people. So as we were designing our quests and our conversations, we really wanted to focus on giving you different ways to be the evil bastard, but not just be the guy who pulls out a sword and starts attacking people every 5 seconds.
And so, have you guys noticed any difference in the dev team since you started working on Tyranny and everyone's started contemplating different evil options compared to perhaps other games?
So our team is special. A lot of us came from the South Park Stick of Truth RPG, So we were already warped and twisted before Tyranny began. So, but one thing I have noticed is that a lot of the women on the development team are much more willing to go for the evil option and embrace like the evil side. Like a lot of the guys are like, no, I'll try to be good here. And they're like, no, kill him, just execute him immediately, put him on a spike. Like they just don't hold back, and it's an interesting dynamic to watch.
Let's see if we have something from the stream. C.O.R.E, and I'm sure some of this stuff, of course, you can't answer, and some of them I'm pretty sure are very tongue-in-cheek. But there are people that want to know about romance options.
So we're not doing full romances.
Yeah.
Like we're not doing like a Bioware style romance, sexy times game. Basically, you do have there's interactions you can have with characters and like questions you can ask with them.
Yeah.
But in order to do romance as well, it requires a lot of like dedicated writing time to really develop characters in that way. And with the demands we have with Tyranny already, of doing between the different quest lines you can do based on your alliances with different characters and the multiple different ways you can choose to approach things, we're already doing like we're in the middle of localizing the game, and we were well over 700,000 words that we're localizing. So we definitely did not have the budget to add romance options on top of that.
Well, I mean, I think the more, I guess, for me personally, interesting is character dynamics between you and NPCs, because I assume there's going to be a lot of that.
Yes. So pretty much every NPC that you talk to in the game, there's several different things they have to be aware of. There's basically what like choices you've made during character creation and early in the game to shape the world, what choices you've made on quests up to this point, what your major alliances are, what choices you may have said with other faction members that have affected how they'd feel about you, plus like just various other like, oh, you made this choice on this quest which I care about because it was dealing with my brother, so I have to respond to it in some way. Like every conversation is this massive web of just different states to check for, so there is a lot of reactivity and choice and consequence in the game. Like one of the things we're doing now as we're playing through the game more and more is trying to like identify all the places where, oh, you make choice A and then choice B, we don't pay off on that, so we have to like add some reactivity there, and like trying to find all of those now that we can possibly can, so that people who are playing through the game are really going to feel like, yeah, Tyranny is paying off on all the choices that I've made so far.
But I guess that also means that once, like, the game isn't really over if you've done one playthrough.
Correct. Yeah, Tyranny, we designed the game to be one you can play multiple times. Like, so at the bare minimum, there are 4 major storylines through the game. But within each of those storylines, there's a lot of different permutations and variabilities. Like, one of our major quest lines, there are actually 8 different possible playthroughs of that major quest line, just based on different choices you make in different areas of the game. Our QA has to put together this massive test plan for all the different paths of the game, all the different permutations of those paths, and how if you make fail at a quest or make it the wrong choice, how you can then drop through to another path in the game. And it's a massive amount of testing workload for them to do. So they love us.
Okay, so we have some question about engagement systems in combat.
Okay.
Basically,
yes, we do have engagement in combat. People who've played Pillars are familiar with the engagement system, and Tyranny works very much the same way, where enemies who have the right weapons and abilities can engage party members, and similarly party members can engage enemies. And then based on that, if you try to move away from an enemy, you get a free attack against them with a disengagement attack. There are certain abilities that allow you to move freely to avoid being engaged or to break engagement for free without taking those free attacks. So basically it's something to, as players are playing through the game, especially in harder difficulty mode, something for them to be aware of and to use the right abilities to move their party members around and avoid taking those free attacks. Or we have one of our characters who's very much about trying to get as many people to engage him as possible. He has several abilities that actually become stronger the more people are engaging him, so it's actually like he draws people in to attack him, and then he's actually getting bonuses because they're engaging him and does massive damage as a result. So we try to take the engagement system and for certain characters make it like a benefit. Like I want to be engaged as much as possible.
Let's see. Let's see if we have. Let's see if we have some. Well, there are a lot of people that are hailing Kairos.
Nice.
Do you recommend that as a strategy for surviving?
I mean, Kairos isn't really going to like. Kairos more cares if you try and use her name in vain.
Yeah.
Like hailing Kairos is fine. That's great and everything. But if you break Kairos's laws or try to swear by the Overlord's name without holding up to it, then you're going to get punished. So
it's basically you don't really want to be on her radar.
yes, being unnoticed is the safest. Of course, it's also the way you don't get advancement that way. So if you're ambitious and want power, you have to be noticed, but then it becomes more deadly as a result.
You mentioned localization quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a set number of languages it's delivered in yet? Because
right now I believe we're localizing. There's 6 languages, including English. We've actually got German.
Oh,
French.
that's smart.
Yes, Spanish, French, German, Polish, and Russian.
There we go. Okay, so there are some people want to know the names of the people involved with the game's writing. Who do you have on your staff who's been working on it?
So our lead writer on the game is Matt McLean. He's been with Obsidian for a while. He's worked on games like Alpha Protocol. He did some writing on Pillars of Eternity as well. He was on South Park: Stick of Truth. So he's lead writer on the game. Then we also have a writer named Paul Kirsch. He did some work with Pillars of Eternity on their guidebook. And did some work in game as well, and then he joined our team over a year ago now. Wow, time's flying. We have a writer named Megan Starks. She's done a lot of work on our Beastmen characters, one of our companions, and Robert Land, who's done both level design and writing for us. So right now we've got 4 people on the writing team. That's typically more than we have for an Obsidian title, but with the amount of reactivity we have in the game, we kind of needed more writing bandwidth for the game.
Okay, we have Billy Corgan says he has 210 hours on Pillars with 2 runs, and I guess the question is, how does Tyranny compare? We talked about how several playthroughs are needed. So would you say it's about the same? Would you get the same?
So right now, our estimate for like a single playthrough of the game is about 20 to 25 hours. That's someone who's probably focusing primarily on the crit path content. We've had people doing playthroughs who are trying to be completionists, do everything, and I think we had one designer was approaching like 40 hours for a single playthrough, and that's one of 4 major ones. Again, not including all the various minor permutations. So you could easily sink hundreds of hours into the game if you wanted to be a completionist on all the possible quests.
But I guess that's also one of the reasons. I mean, if you have a lot of different permutations, you kind of don't want the game to be. It's going to take too long to get through it.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, if one playthrough was 100 hours, no one would play it a second time to get multiple playthroughs.
Okay, so like I said, we've gone through the character creation today. I know that you guys are basically, this is Wednesday, we're here in Gamescom up till Friday. You've got meeting every day, all day, basically.
Yeah, very full schedule.
Yeah, and for press and media, you have been showing more of the game. So in the coming weeks, there should be more articles coming out for those that are really thirsty for more Tyranny information. And of course, there's also the dev diaries that are they posted bi-weekly now, monthly?
Every 2 weeks,
yeah. See, I was like, yes, I'm correct.
That plus we have beginning of every month we have a new short story that goes up that gives more information about the world of Tyranny as well.
So, and you can all find that on, I think it's
tyrannygame.com.
Exactly, that's tyrannygame.com. And I think that's going to be it for now. Thank you so much for talking to me and hanging out on stream. I'm sure you should have some lunch.
That'd be good.
Because we realized today, you're streaming during lunch. That'll be fun. But let's see if we have one or two final questions we can get through here, and then I'll let you go. Well, there you go. It's basically people that want to see more, but we're not doing that because we're keeping that for now. But like I said, the plan was to do character creation. We've done that, so thank you so much for coming. And for you guys that are watching at home, we will be back a bit later with Shams to talk about how to pitch games for Tyranny, and then I'm going to force one of you Obsidian guys to come back for the Surviving Games Code talk show that we have in a few hours' time, when everyone's really tired after a full day of Gamescom.
Excellent. That'll be great.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming. I'm going to see if we can find ourselves a standby screen here that we can use for a bit, and then we'll stream some more stuff. So, yes, thank you for coming.
Thank
Thank you
you
for
very much.
watching. Bye, bye, bye.